We have a quorum, so welcome to meeting of the Onsite Wastewater Advisory Board. And the original agenda had item 1 as the appointment of officers, but I think that has to be done the first meeting of the year. And since we already did it, probably we can omit that unless somebody wants to make a change, right? So somebody wants to limit it. The next item is the adoption of the agenda. Has everybody had a chance to sign in on this? Okay, okay, I'm sorry. No. Oh, you might need this. Yeah. Thank you, Scott. Right, so may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, and I got second, did you get the names? Okay. Any discussion, additions, changes, or what have you? Okay, if not, then all those in favor of adopting the agenda as written, signify by saying something.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. All right. The next item is the approval of the minutes, and we did note one correction under point A where it says adoption of officers. It mentions the vice chair, but not the chair. And actually should have read election of the chair and vice chair. I believe it was the motion was made and seconded by the same individuals. So with that correction, I have a motion to adopt. I guess we already did that. So can we call for the motion? All in favor of adopting the revised agenda?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right.
What determines the term expiration?
The officers are supposed to be appointed or reappointed at the first meeting of the year. And that was the meeting that we had in January. So
Because it says your expiration's August, Tim's.
that is that's a different issue. I'm actually appointed by the Dow County, and they presumably can decide whether to renew that appointment or not. If they don't renew the appointment, then obviously I won't be being chair. I think those are independent issues.
Okay. I think the code might mention the time that each term. It just depends on when you get appointed, and that's when your expiration is, I believe.
That's the call we all get from John Lynn. Maybe so.
Or
Yeah.
whoever.
Yeah. All right. So the next item is approval of minutes. If you've had an opportunity to look at that. And the other changes, corrections. Okay, then all those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Finally get to some old business. All right. So this is on County Code 51, review and update. And who's going to bring us up to date on that?
Yeah, so I think I can kind of mention that, as we already know, we don't particularly utilize County Code 51. But with the state rule, they had like a public comment forum, town halls type deal, and took in everyone's comments. There was a pretty large attendance across like the entire state because of the new revisions that would be added by July 1st, but I think what I'm hearing from the community is that they don't quite think it'll be rewritten in time for July 1st, but it likely will be this summer that they do add the dry well as failure and then the definition of malfunctioning systems. And we kind of reviewed this last time, but I just know that it's in motion for the summer. Town hall uses important.
Town hall was pretty, there was a large attendance, but very few people actually spoke. I think a lot of people were there to watch. But across the state, I believe there was substantive written comments submitted for them to enter a second revision period. So now we're waiting for that to happen. There will be another public comments period and hearing. See what happens then.
So presumably at that point, the county and this group will review how that impacts the local ordinance and decide whether or not it's in the county's best interest to appeal some of the things and allow the county to depart from the state rules. That's my understanding. Is that correct? And until then, we really don't know, what's going to happen. Did you get any sense about the prohibition of existing dry wells, whether that's likely to remain in the final document?
I don't know. The only people that spoke didn't mention the dry wells. When I submitted written comment on behalf of the Department of Health, I said we strongly supported that addition. I don't know if other counties are the same across the board.
Are there any other items that came up that you think would be impactful to the county, changes the way that we operate currently?
We're struggling to, people were struggling to use technology to comment. There was.
Did anyone else in the room? Walt, did you attend?
Which one? Not sorry.
Did you attend any of the town hall meetings that they did?
They were very, I don't even want to say informative. There was just a lot of back and forth over nothing really pertinent personally. I mean, there was a couple things about dry wells. No, dry wells were even mentioned. They were bringing up septic tanks, but they weren't really commenting. They were just wanting it as a group to kind of get a sense of what they were feeling, but I don't think that they were supposed to compile a list and then submit that list to the state on Iowa's behalf. I don't know how that list ever turned out, but it wasn't, I feel like it was a waste of 3 days, but my personal opinion.
Did you go down there personally?
No, just sitting there on the Zoom town halls just for that hour and a half that LA was sitting there rambling.
So were there any concerns raised about trying to enforce uniformity of enforcement in every county in the state?
Just from how the state code's written, that's the only uniformity they want to see across the board. They don't want us to have county specific code changes or special ordinances to overrule the state code. That's why they're revamping the state code to its extent, is to try to get uniformity across the state. The other thing that in that code change that I feel is going to be a bigger issue for our county is the definition of watertight in a septic tank. Anything put in before 75 will not classify as watertight anymore. So if there's anything, either old crumb coffin style tanks with slab lids, they don't meet that code standard anymore. I think that might actually be a bigger deal than the definition than dry wells. If you really think about the volume of septic tanks that were installed versus the dry wells, it's going to be up in the air.
It's kind of strange. They didn't really change anything regarding the definition of failure or malfunction to indicate that.
Well, they're changing the standards. They adopted the National Precast Association definition of watertight, and that's gonna kick everything in the butt.
So basically, there's a 50-year limit, lifespan that they're sort of building into the.
I wouldn't even, you can't put a timeline on it, but just,
No, but that's what they're trying to do, right? If you're gonna go back to 75, that's 50 years ago.
and that's my speculation on that watertight basis, but I mean, you're probably not far off.
I think
Did
it
they
was-
talk about why, like what is, and forgive my ignorance, but like what is relative to that year?
It's, the year isn't specific. That's
I know, but
from
what happened in that year that made
the
it?
construction of, they were in a round septic tank, they were importing a clay inlet baffle and then concreting the inlet pipes in, or the tops weren't properly sealed to actually be watertight at that point. They were not worried about infiltration from above the system at any point.
They started actually looking at septic tank prints to approve what septic tanks you could use.
So you're talking when you go to replace somebody's leach field, you'll have to replace the tank too. Basically.
There's not, I mean, really,
It should be done anyway.
it's happening already.
Yes.
But oftentimes you could reuse the tank. You don't have to replace.
No, I mean,
Sometimes you.
yeah, I mean, you could, it's in policy. Most policies are gonna be out there to where if the tank could fail the next inspection because you reuse something that's pre-1995, we just don't use it. And we go plastic on everything for that very reason.
It would kind of affect the Department of Health a little bit, just because we still receive like property transfer inspections that pass tanks that are like metal and clay or was it ceramic. So some of those will be automatically failed, even though our property transfer has been here for a little bit.
But we're talking with Alice, the way all that works is all of that is gonna be based off of when a permit is applied for, or when, in that scenario, where something's called in. So when it's a title transfer to them, that's not gonna state that you have to do anything. It's just disclosure of what you have. When you go to get a permit to do something though, that is where they're gonna ask for everything to be mandated, update across that board.
So I would say we would probably need to adjust our inspection form to include water tightness or something like that. I don't know, it would be an automatic failure, but it would be another maybe cautionary aspect.
Anything else on this?
Is there an actual list that determines what needs to have a permit and not when you're making a septic repair in a real estate transaction?
Yeah. I mean, it's a unified, it's a policy in general when you're doing repairs on what you're gonna, on what requires a permit and what doesn't require. a
Is
permit.
that something that if I email you, I can ask you for that list just to prepare my clients
Yeah,
and other agents?
so what we use is what is offered to us by the state and or what we know would require a permit because you're altering something. I think the only thing that's on that list that could fall that we don't do is risers, baffles.
Lids.
Is that something I can find on the website somewhere?
I mean, that's pretty much
Just
everything.
anything outside
So
of,
typically we say, any work done within 5 feet of the house doesn't require a permit. And then pretty much everything else except risers, baffles.
Anything that has liquid flowing through it,
okay,
one from the beginning all the way to the end needs a permit. That's the easiest way to put it.
But it could be helpful for you to distribute to other realtors.
Right,
We
yeah.
could put something together.
yeah, if you could put something
Yeah.
together so I can start.
That's done.
Because
I'll send it to Melanie.
Because I'm a big advocate of pre-inspecting the septic, so you're not chasing your tail after you're in transaction, so I think it's a big thing.
Another way to put it too is, anything that's not routine maintenance requires a permit.
When they're getting in there in the tank and getting out roots and all that kind of stuff, that's within water flow.
Yeah, we don't require a permit.
It's a good thing that you brought up pre-inspections. You guys gotta be careful with pre-inspections with what we're seeing. They're pretty dangerous.
Mhm.
When you do pre-inspections, you gotta make sure that the person doing the pre-inspection is being as as strict as they possibly can on everything, because we see a lot of pre-inspections come through that they get repairs done and then another inspection is done and it fails anyways. So I would just suggest that for pre-inspections.
Anything else? We have no new business scheduled. I think that will have to wait, see what the state regulations are. And we have miscellaneous, under that permitting software update. So somebody bring us up to date on the permitting software.
Yeah, so it's a little out of our hands, the timeline, because I don't know, it's been a very slow rollout for the new permitting software with Civic Gov. We're not currently using it. It's not prepared for us quite yet. There was a huge issue with, I don't understand computers that much. So like when they're trying to explain it to us, I was like, okay, whatever you say. But basically all the old data was numbered a certain way and they couldn't import it a certain way. So they're taking all of our old data and putting it into a spreadsheet. So I don't know, we're just supposed to reference
So
the
you-
spreadsheet anytime.
That data originally was in FileMaker, is that correct?
Correct.
So that certainly is possible to import or export data from FileMaker format into a spreadsheet type format, and then hopefully that could be imported into whatever
Yeah.
the new system.
That's the issue, is like the FileMaker format and the spreadsheet format aren't quite lining up very well.
Yeah. But regardless, it's definitely been a challenge. And again, it's not prepared for us. We have had some meetings where we're getting trained on it, but there's like, not to be too in-depth, but there's certain modules. So like when we receive complaints, that's one module versus a permit for massage, a permit for septic, a permit for a well. Whatever. And the permitting side is not anywhere near ready. So we, in the meantime, have kind of created our own permitting software, and we're hoping to start using that in the next couple of weeks here. It will essentially just show you where the process is, so it'll automatically notify the person who submitted a request for a permit that, okay, we've finished the specifications, they get a notification, they come back to it. Maybe they need to upload a drawing, they can upload the drawing there. Everything can be done in the same place, and it'll show you step by step what's been completed and what hasn't been.
So is this going to be available to those who have a permit pending, or would?
No, this would just be for people who start to submit applications. So if you-
But I mean, once this gets implemented, will it be possible for somebody who seeks a permit to sort of be able to, from their computer,
Yes.
to see how the process is progressing?
Yep.
Because that was one of the concerns I think
Yep.
was raised in the last meeting. Nobody can really
Yes.
understand where things are in the process. So
Yes, so
that's-
it will do that. And our other hope is that this actually makes it faster for everyone, because then we don't have to call, you don't have
Sure.
to call us. It will just automatically shoot an email out that says something's been done, and then we automatically get an email once someone has uploaded whatever they need to or made payment or whatever.
And you guys are developing that in-house, is that correct?
Yes, yeah. So we didn't want to have to keep saying that this other software wasn't ready. So we just worked internally to create something.
Great.
So, and it's new, so as people use it, they might not like it, but again, we'll accept any feedback and tweak it to wherever it needs to be
Great.
so that people do find it helpful. It would be pointless to create something if it was making things more challenging. So we're hopeful, but again, we'll definitely accept any feedback on it.
I mean, that was, I think when we first started out, that was sort of
Yeah.
the goal when we talked about commercial systems and what have you. But
Yeah.
it's really nice to hear that this is finally in the process of being implemented. I know there was a lot of concern about trying to figure out where people were in
Yeah.
the permitting process.
Well, the hard part too is that if somebody has a building permit and a septic permit, like this isn't something the building department created, it's just us. So that's, I think, the tricky thing is that they were hoping to have one software where you could check everything. So like, let's say you need a demo permit and an abandonment for septic and a well abandonment. It would all be in the same place, but this won't be that because it's just the health department. But again, it's our temporary solution until we have something more concrete and yeah. Better than nothing.
Yeah.
I thought process.
A lot better than the system now. Right.
Yeah.
Any comments or questions about that? So when do you plan to roll it out?
Hopefully next couple weeks. So we were hoping to roll it out, the end of this month, but then we realized there was some issues with the payment part and we didn't want to launch it and have people run into issues. So we're just waiting a little bit until that's resolved. And then again, I think people might have hiccups here and there, but we'll correct them as needed. But we are hopeful that we can get that rolled out in the next couple weeks here.
Oh, so
Mhm.
we're talking about weeks, not months.
Yes, yep.
That's great news.
So that's for everything, well permits.
No, so it's just septic permits for now, but we're building it in hopes that we can use it for well, massage, tattoo, when people want to renew their contractor or installer, drillers, inspections, whatever. Everybody can do it through one place. That way it's cohesive and consistent. But for now, it's just septic because that's where we had the most concerns.
So is it is it a link and then the link knows your email and
Yeah.
shoots you an email?
Mhm.
It's not like a set web page, basically.
No, it could be found on our website, but it's just a link it'll take you to. And then every time you get an update, it'll provide that link again. So you don't have to figure out where you put it.
Through email.
And then it's not, so there isn't a separate one that's just for wells, but this one can be in conjunction, like if it's a new construction and septic, it'll do both.
Anybody have any questions or comments about that? That's great progress. I'm really pleased to hear.
I do have
Yeah,
another
sure.
question. So provided there is a repair that needs to be done that requires a permit and the tank is older than 1975, is that required to change the field as well? If the field is operational?
Any of that applies, yeah. I think it's, none of that talk was when things change is the way that'll work. Is when they would have to, that health department would have to adopt how they're gonna handle that. Right now, it's whatever fails.
Yeah, it's currently, the tank is not structurally sound. It'll need to be replaced.
And sometimes you dig it up and you find that it's not sound, you gotta replace it after the fact. It's holding water, but it's the backup, it's just nothing but.
Yeah.
Then it's gone. So I mean.
Yeah.
I do, the program itself, is it, so like the email, you log in, I submit something to start a process. Can any homeowner then get on and see it?
I think if you share that link, anyone could access it. So
Does that mean they can also see all the other stuff that we did as well? Just, so each individual document's gonna have its own link.
no, actually, that's a good point. So I think the link will take you to the dashboard, which in theory, they could access anything else. So if you just wanted certain pieces accessible to someone,
I just want somebody else's information accessible to someone.
that's fair.
Or is it assigned to like the parcel
Yeah, that's a good thought.
address?
Because basically the way it is, like whoever would apply in this system, they would get sent all the updates. And so I don't know that if you share the link with, you're, I guess, giving them the ability to see all the same things, but what parts of it would you want to send out?
I would just want them, for me, the tool would be nice to say, quit calling, what you guys want, quit calling me. Go to this.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And if they go in there and they see, oh, hey, look, the neighbor next door is also doing something. I want, this,
Oh, they can't see what other, they would just see whatever the link is for that one property. They wouldn't be able to see if you had multiple properties.
Okay,
It would
so
just
the
be for
link
that
is
one
per-
case.
per site.
Some of the,
First.
yeah, a lot of the other jurisdictions where I've dealt with,
Yeah.
like Marshall County and a couple other counties had similar, they're all different, but similar.
Mhm.
They're all tied to the actual either tax ID or address or whatever.
Yep. Okay, sorry, I misunderstood, but
your
yeah,
property.
that shouldn't be an issue.
And this system is what's allowing you to be able to get the sketches to the guys to do their inspection.
Yes, so everything can be uploaded in one place, so that, again, it'll just shoot something out automatically, and then you can always go back to it. So like, let's say later on, there's an issue and you're like, oh, wait, I think I have a link for that site. You can go back and if you need the drawing or the specs or whatever, it's all going to still be there.
Is that how schematics are going to be transported to?
So we are, yeah, like we were talking the other day, we're also creating, it'll be through the same site, but not the same link, if that makes sense. So it's all through RedCap is what the software is called. Yeah. And so that will have, there'll be a separate thing that if people want to request schematics, it can be done through there. But yeah, we're trying to keep it like cohesive that it will be the same thing. But we recognize there's been a lot of challenges with schematics. And so we're just trying to condense it as much as we can to where now people will just say, I want this address. And I think it's like up to 5 addresses you can submit at once. And we'll just drag it there. And then again, you'll get an automatic notification that it's ready for you.
So it's still so particular to where like if something got entered in where there's a dash or a space, it doesn't pop up and it doesn't find it.
I mean, well, you know, the other thing too is like Josie was saying, it would be really helpful, like if people know the lot number, to put the lot number in, because a lot of times it's like, we can't find it by permit or address, but we find it by lot number, so we'll have a place to put that. But yeah, I don't know. It's tricky because DocuWare that we use to store all of that.
So
A lot of things don't have lot numbers, so.
Yeah.
You know, like a 20-acre parcel
Yeah.
or a 40-acre.
Yeah. If you do have it.
So I'd
If
like to
not, we understand.
entertain you with a hypothetical. And I'm not gonna give you an address or
Okay.
anything of that nature. It's a hypothetical of where 2 inspectors went out and did an inspection on a property that had a change of address
Okay.
done. She bought it as a commercial property, thinking that I could put 150 people in this place. It's change in use. It has everything it needs, but neither one of those inspectors were able to actually get docs on the address that they knew the property was. It wasn't until I knew what that property was, because I serviced it 20 years ago, where I was able to give that address where it actually pulled up to commercial site. It had an environmental covenant on it. It has all kinds of stuff, and now she owns it. That is the kind of
Okay.
document pulling that I'm talking about. Like when we're entrusted to look that up to make sure that we get everything possible, how can we do our best due diligence as contractors?
That's why you do a phase 1 ESA,
I asked if they have one, don't just get me started.
What is that?
environmental site assessment.
Yeah, they would have found all of it and given her that information instead of relying on the septic inspector to pull it in county docs and have it come all.
They still have to get that stuff from us, so if our person doesn't find it, then they're not getting it either, but.
Yeah.
We run into that all the time, where addresses change.
Right, yeah,
and
they will,
then we have to go back and look up records of the old address,
Yeah.
and we're like, just like you are, I'll look at this.
Yeah.
I think a lot of title companies and a lot of departments use the property ID or tax ID number versus an address, because some properties might even have an address.
What's the best search method? Do we have, is there one that pulls up stuff? When I call you, you find stuff that nobody finds.
yeah, that's because I kind of know what I'm
But
Friends, just let everybody know.
so our admin people are great. They can find just about anything, but I've been doing it for 7 years and they've been doing it for 2. So I just have that little bit more experience with FileMaker.
Yeah. So do you have suggestions on how we can improve?
so I don't want to bring up I want to show you a couple scenarios we can address where you can see it, and he knows exactly which ones I'm
Okay.
talking about to see how we could input information to get that ahead of time. And that should be something that inspectors are taught
Okay.
when they do schematic locates.
Okay. Well, we can talk.
Fortunately, a lot of the older permits weren't by parcel number or anything convenient like that. Pretty much address, lot numbers. And occasionally I can search by the applicant's name, things like that. But it gets a little complicated, especially when you get replats and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think moving forward, the tax ID is really the only thing to use, because I don't know, people just come up with their own addresses sometimes, I feel like, and they're signed, so.
Well, I feel like utility companies too, I mean, from a
Yeah.
side, I mean, utility companies get mixed up all the time if it's.
That's true.
Because you can merge lots or split lots or whatever. I mean, it's all gonna change, but that's where the address is. I think it's confusing sometimes.
I'm good. I just want to put it in there and know I'm going to get everything I need to have.
Right, we just have to teach us
How to be a wizard, like,
You said a lot of the older properties didn't have property ID numbers or tax ID numbers? No, really?
Parcel numbers is what you're looking for then?
No, they didn't have those. It's pretty much, yeah.
Sit on the Maycog and you click every box.
Those older permits, just address or subdivision line number pretty much.
Or just west side of Pine Road, north of Roosevelt.
Gotcha.
Does that really help? Like detailed directions like that?
Yeah, well, that's. That's
What do you paste?
it was under, that was the address it was under.
Oh.
And it's like, but now it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Pine Road.
Yeah.
Never gonna find it.
Any other comments or questions on this? All right, in that case, I believe our agenda is pretty much completed. Is
Well-
there any public? Sorry.
yeah, so it was.
I brought it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I brought it because I know at
Uh-huh.
Plan Commission, we just voted on the ADUs that we're trying to do a text amendment to start allowing ADUs. So I just figured it might be worth a discussion.
Yeah.
Accessory dwelling.
Yeah. I think, yeah. And I think the aspect of what we're proposing that's most relevant to this group is we want to allow attached ADUs for lots in the R single family district that are at least an acre. We want to limit those to 2 bedrooms. And then in terms of detached, again, we would have a minimum lot size of an acre and we would cap those off at 1 bedroom. So. And for detached, the proposal as it is now is to require at least 6,000 square feet of undeveloped area for replacement septics in the future, potentially. There's some concern that that might be high.
Well, I guess, does that need to be in the ordinance, the text amendment, or is that just on, does the county need to have a separate standard, or does the state have a standard for like a minimum? If you have to have a separate system for an accessory dwelling unit, right, with 1,000 square foot.
They're gonna make you treat it as a regular.
Right, but is there what's the minimum size that we can put in? Because most houses are generally bigger than that.
Yeah,
I mean,
like if you had 1 bedroom and it was only like 1,000 square foot ADU, what size septic would that?
300 square feet.
300 square feet.
Is that like the minimum?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know if we need to have a separate standard for something smaller than that or not. I don't know. That's where I at least wanted to bring it up for discussion because it is, across the state more and more.
You just.
I mean, we had someone come in the other day about it. Dang, that was quick.
Oh, they've been coming in for years.
No, they've been.
Small. It's like,
Oh,
since this
oh.
conversation, we're like, oh.
Weird. Okay.
Do they run water lines to them? You guys run separate wells for them? What's like the tip?
I mean, I'm working on some design stuff right now in Cass County. Because they allow it. Cass County, you can tap into the existing well. I mean, it depends on the well condition, but you can tap into the existing well. Because you're not really, I mean, you're maybe adding a bath, right? So you're probably not adding a ton of water. It's more septic that they make you do a separate system for the septic.
Right, but your biggest headache is isolation distances that you still have.
Right, if you have the property, but I mean, most of your Michigan properties are larger acreage parcels anyways, not.
Cass County's pretty easy to work.
Right. But, yeah, so that's at least the discussion that I at least wanted to bring up, or if you need to look at that, or is there anything in the state ordinance about that type of stuff or not? I don't know.
New soil borings for it?
What did you say the minimum square footage was for putting in the septic then?
6,000 is what we're proposing of undisturbed land. And again, I mean, that's just if you want to have a detached accessory dwelling on the property, so.
If you got city water and sewer in the county, which is not that common, you don't need to have that separate
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
space for it, but
You wouldn't be able to do it for cluster systems. You would add a better.
I mean, it would probably have to go through the state, which don't think they would be super open to that.
Which do we have, any of the cluster systems are on lots?
Hey, man, I'm just seeing to where we don't mention stuff and all of a sudden it happens.
Yeah.
So if I just.
Well, in a lot of neighborhoods that's on a cluster system, they probably don't allow them anyways.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right. That'd be a mess.
If you have a couple, 2 or 3 houses that could handle them, where they have their own. They have enough acres to where you have 3 houses that are on a massive septic system where they probably would be candidates for it, to where they could do it. So I'm just saying you should probably say something about that when you have.
Yeah, okay.
It's a good idea.
Anything else? All right, do we have anyone here that would like to make a public comment? Okay, in that case, may I have a motion for adjournment? Motion.
Thank you.
A second? Yeah. For Dave. All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting over. Thank you. People see some of you.
Yeah, in 30 minutes, yeah.
What's the next one?
Water Resource Advisory Board. So from there, well, So, yeah. but it's-
Did you sign in?
Like, Monahan was gonna swing.
Okay, sorry.